Welcome to part 3. So we'll be talking about geometry and data analysis, which is 35 to 40% of the test. We're going to talk about area and perimeters, angles, interpreting data from tables, graphs, and histograms, probability, mean, median, mode, and range, measurement and converting units, and the Pythagorean theorem. So we'll start with area and perimeter. And all of these formulas, you'll have to memorize them. So we're going to go ahead and go straight into the questions. So number 1, a rectangle has a length of 8 inches and a width of 5 inches. Find the area and perimeter. So for this one, we'll be looking here. And the area equals length times width, and the perimeter equals 2 times the length plus the width. And the length is 8 inches, and the width is 5 inches. So starting with area, we have 5 times 8, which equals 40 inches squared. And next, the perimeter is 2 times the length plus the width. Which is 2 times 13 equals 26 inches. And remember that perimeter is inches and area is inches squared. Next, we have a right triangle has a base of 10 meters and a height of 8 meters. And in this case, since it's a right triangle, our height is the same as the side. But if we had a triangle like this, the height would be here. And then it says the other two sides are 10 meters and 8 meters. So this is one of the sides. And then we're going to say the other side is 10 meters. So starting with area for this one will be here. We have 1/2 base times height. And I'm going to move this. Okay. So we have area equals 1/2 times 10 times 8, which is 40 meters squared. And the perimeter equals side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3. We have 8 plus 10 plus 10 equals 28 meters. Next, we have a circle. So we'll be here. Circle has a radius of 7 meters. We want to find the area and circumference. So starting with area, we have pi r squared, which means we're going to have pi times 7 squared, which equals pi times 49, which equals 153.86 meters squared. And this is the kind of problem that you would have the on-screen calculator for. And circumference equals 2 pi r, which equals 2 pi times 7, which equals 14 pi, which equals 43.96 meters. Next, we have a parallelogram. And parallelograms are shapes that have two of the sides are equal, and then the two other sides will be equal. So it says the parallelogram has a base of 12 centimeters, which means this will also be 12 centimeters, and a height of 5 centimeters, which, just like our triangle, will look like this, and a side length of 8 centimeters. Find the area and perimeter. So for this one, we'll be looking here. And the area equals base times height, which here will be 12 centimeters times 5 centimeters. So remember, our height is different from the side, which equals 60. Let's check that. Yes, 60 centimeters squared. Remember, area is always squared. And perimeter equals 2 times base plus the height, just like a rectangle. Oh, no. And last, we have a trapezoid, and it has a base of 8 centimeters. Oh, we have one base of 8 centimeters and one of 12. With a height of 6 centimeters. Find the area. If the non-parallel sides are 7 centimeters and 9 centimeters. And our height can actually be looked at in the middle here. It doesn't matter if it's over here or if it's over here. Oh my goodness. So finding our area, we have area equals 1/2 times base 1 plus base 2 times the height, which equals 1/2 times 8 plus 12 times 6. We'll go ahead and do 1/2 times 20. That'll be 10 times 6 equals 60 centimeters squared. And for the perimeter, we just add up all the sides. So we'll have 12 plus, this should actually be 7. 12 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7, which equals 36 centimeters. Now we have a few harder perimeter and area questions. So the first one is a composite shape. So a shape consists of a rectangle and a right triangle on top. So there's our rectangle. And then we have a right triangle on top, which means it will look like this. And the rectangle has a length of 10 meters and a width of 6 meters, which means the bottom of this part of the triangle will also be 10 meters. The right triangle has a base of 10 meters and a height of 4 meters. Find the area and find the perimeter if the other side of the triangle is 5 meters. So, starting with area, for a rectangle, we have length times width, which equals 10 times 6, which equals 60 meters squared. And then we're going to say plus the area for our triangle, which is 1/2 base times height. Let's go back and check, make sure that's right. Yes. 10 times 4. 10 times 4 is 40, and half of that is 20 meters squared. So our area equals 80 meters squared total. And then remember that perimeter is just adding up all the sides. So we'll say 10 plus 6 plus 6 for the outside of our triangle here. And this doesn't need to be included because it's inside the shape. It's not the outside of the shape. So then we just have 4 and 5. So that's 22. That'll be 31 meters. Now, a circle has a radius of 15 centimeters. And a sector of the circle has a central angle of 120 degrees, which would be probably right about here. And we want to find the area of the sector of this circle. So that would be this part. And our formula will be back on this page, which is theta over 360 times pi r squared. So we have 120 over 360 times pi r squared be 12 over 36 times pi 15 squared equals so that'll be 1/3 times pi times 225. Which in total equals 235.5 centimeters squared. Next, we're going to look at angles. So there's a few definitions that we should go over. So two complementary angles are two angles that sum to 90 degrees. And two supplementary angles are two angles that sum to 180 degrees. Vertical angles are the angles that are opposite of each other when two lines intersect. These angles are equal. So these are your two intersecting lines, and these two angles, A and B, will be equal. Additionally, we have a formula right here about finding the sum of the interior angles, which means that when you have a shape like an octagon or something, you might want to find out the degrees of all of the interior angles. Like in a circle, it's 360 degrees, but in an octagon, it might not necessarily be the same degrees. And this is the formula to find that, where n is the total number of sides. Next, we have, so when we have two parallel lines and another line intersects them, it's called a transversal. And these two lines don't have to be parallel, but for most of the questions on the PERT test, probably all, not just most, these two lines will be equal. So the first thing we want to look at is alternate interior angles. So angles like 4 and 5 and 3 and 6. These are alternating inside the two parallel lines. Alternate exterior angles are the same idea, 2 and 7, 1 and 8. And consecutive interior angles, like 4 and 6, and 3 and 5, will add up to 180 degrees. But our alternate interior and alternate exterior angles, again, these are alternate interior, alternate interior, alternate exterior, alternate exterior. These angles will be equal. And again, with the same idea, corresponding angles like 2 and 6, these will be equal and these are only equal when the lines are parallel. Another corresponding angle would be 4 and 8, 7 and 3, 5 and 1. And last, you'll need to remember SOHCAHTOA. Which is sine, cosine, and tangents formulas. Okay, so going to the questions, we have number 1. Two angles are complementary. Complementary means they sum to 90 degrees. If one angle is 40 degrees, what is the measure of the other angle? So we have 90 minus 40 equals 50 degrees. Next, two angles are supplementary, which means they sum to 180 degrees. One angle measures 110 degrees. What is the measure of the other? We have 180 minus 110 equals 70 degrees. Okay. Two lines intersect and form vertical angles. One of the angles is 65 degrees. What is the measure of the opposite vertical angle? This will also be 65 degrees. Next, two parallel lines are cut by a transversal. If one of the alternate interior angles is 72 degrees, what is the measure of the other alternate interior angle? And that will be here, and it will also be 72 degrees. Now, let's find all of the other angles. So, our consecutive interior angles, remember, are going to be like this one and this one. Consecutive interior, they're right next to each other. They will sum to 180 degrees. They're supplementary. So we can say 180 minus 72 is 108 degrees. So this is going to be 108 degrees. And then our other alternate interior angle will also be 108 degrees. So this one and this one will be the same because they are corresponding. This one and this one will be the same. And these are also vertical angles here. So this would be the same. And this would be the same. And now we can see that our alternate exterior angles are equal. We covered alternate interior and consecutive interior. And we used corresponding to fill in the rest. Next, we'll go ahead and do number 6. So the sum of the interior, we want to find the sum of the interior angles of a polygon with 8 sides. So our formula is n minus 2 times 180 degrees. So 8 minus 2 times 180 degrees. 6 times 180 degrees equals 1080 degrees. Last, we have a person is standing 50 meters from the base of a building. So let's draw our building. And our person. So he's standing 50 meters from the base of a building. The angle of elevation from the person's eyes to the top of the building is 30 degrees. And it really should say from the feet to the top of the building, but we'll go with the eyes. So this is going to be 30 degrees. And we want to find how tall the building is. So here's where SOHCAHTOA comes in, because we're going to use tangent of 30 degrees equals the opposite of the angle over the adjacent of the angle. And this is where you can use a calculator. You'll have the on-screen calculator. So the height is going to be equal to tangent of 30 degrees times 50 meters. So when you're interpreting data from tables, graphs, and histograms, all of that is going to be very, very straightforward on the PERT test, almost just grabbing values out of a table. The only confusing part that might come up is cumulative frequency. And this is a different kind of table. So here we're looking at the cumulative frequency distribution for the scores of 50 students on a test. This is the score range, and this is the cumulative frequency. So we start with a score range of 0 to 20, and 10 students scored within this range. And then we have the range 21 to 40. And we have the cumulative frequency of 25. But we're only adding 15 students to get to here. This doesn't mean that 25 students scored a 21 to 40. It means 15 students scored a 21 to 40, but our cumulative frequency is adding these up. So as we get to the bottom, it will equal 50, right? So if we want to know how many students scored between 21 and 40, that means we have 15 students. Next, we can talk about probability. So some definitions. Just a regular straightforward probability would be the number of favorable outcomes divided by the total number of possible outcomes. And a probability should always be between 0 and 1. It could also equal 0 or equal 1, but you probably won't have a question like that, meaning always or never. Next, a complementary event is the opposite of the event happening. If the probability of the event happening is P of A, the probability of the event not happening is 1 minus P of A. Independent events have no influence on one another, so you multiply them. Dependent events do influence each other. So these will both say A and B, but in the case it's a dependent event, or they are dependent events, you'll have P of A times P of B given A. And P of B given A is the probability of event B given that A has already occurred. And that'll make more sense once we get into the questions. Mutually exclusive events cannot occur at the same time. So it will be A or B, meaning that you add them. So P of A plus P of B. So question number 1, we've got a bag contains 5 red marbles, 3 blue marbles, and 2 green marbles. And we want to know what is the probability of picking a red marble. So remember the probability of an event equals the number of favorable outcomes, which is our red marble, so that's 5, over the total number of possible outcomes. So we'll say 5 plus 3 plus 2, which gives us 1/2. So the probability of drawing a red marble is 1/2. Number 2, if the probability of it raining tomorrow is 3/5, what is the probability that it will not rain? So this is an example of a complementary event. So we're going to say P of A prime equals 1 minus 3/5, which equals 5/5 minus 3/5, which equals 2/5. Next, if the probability of drawing a red card from a deck of cards is 26 out of 52, and the probability of rolling a 3 on a fair 6-sided die is 1/6, what is the probability of drawing a red card and rolling a 3? And these are independent events because they have no influence on each other. So our probability will be 26/52 times 1/6. We can reduce this to 3, 13. That will be 13 or 156. And this actually does reduce again to 1/12. Next, a deck of cards has 52 cards. If you draw one card and do not replace it, what is the probability of drawing a king and then a queen in that order? So there's 4 kings and 4 queens and a deck of 52 cards. And these are dependent events because you're not replacing the card. So we'll do the probability of A first. So that'll be 4 out of 52. And then we want the queen. So this will be, and we multiply these, this will be 4 out of 51. That'll be 16. And this will be 2,652. That is fully reduced. Next, if the probability of rolling a 2 on a fair-sided six-sided die is 1/6, and the probability of rolling a 4 is also a 1/6, what is the probability of rolling a 2 or a 4? So we will add these. So the probability equals 2/6 equals 1/3. Last, a box contains 10 red balls, 5 green balls, and 5 yellow balls. If you randomly choose one, what is the probability it is red or green? So the probability of drawing red is 10 out of 20. Probability of green is 5 out of 20. We're going to add these because it's asking for or. So we have 15 out of 20, which equals 3/4. Next, we can talk about mean, median, mode, and range. So the mean is the sum of all the values divided by the number of all values. The median is the middle value when you arrange the values in order. Mode is the value that occurs the most frequently, and range is the maximum value versus the minimum value. So, starting with mean, we'll say 12 plus 24 plus 86 plus 2 plus 19 plus 38 plus 14 plus 42 plus 59 all over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 values, which equals 296 divided by 9. And the median, so now we have to arrange them in order. So we'll start with 2, then 12, 14, 19, 24, 38, 42, 59, and 86. And now we can find the middle value, which is 24. And we have no mode because no number is repeated. And the range will be 86 minus 2, the largest value minus the smallest value, which equals 84. Next, we can talk about converting units. So most of the time, the PERT test will give you a conversion factor like this, unless it's something like this, yards to feet, because that's a very common, should be well-known unit conversion. So we want to convert 7 kilometers to miles. So we'll do this. We'll match these up so that our kilometers will cancel out. We'll put miles up here. We have 1 kilometer equals 0.621371 miles. So we'll say 7 times that number. Which equals 4.349597. Next, we want to convert 5 square yards to square feet. We'll have yards squared on the bottom and feet squared on the top. So there's 3 feet in 1 yard. So we have 15 feet squared. Next, we want to convert 10 liters to milliliters. 1 liter equals 1,000 milliliters. So we'll have 10,000 milliliters. Last, we want to convert 25 kilograms into pounds. And for 1 kilogram, that is 2.20462 pounds, which is 55.1155 pounds. And last, we talk about the Pythagorean theorem. So the Pythagorean theorem only works for right triangles, where you have side A, side B, and the hypotenuse side C. And A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So for question number 1, we have a right triangle. One leg is 6 units long, and the other is 8 units long. What is the length of the hypotenuse? So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. The hypotenuse is C. So we have 8 squared plus 6 squared equals C squared. This is 64 plus 36 equals C squared, which is 100. Square root. C equals 10. Next, we have a ladder is leaning against the wall. So we'll put our wall here. Have our ladder leaning up against the wall. The distance from the base of the ladder to the wall is 9 feet. And the ladder reaches a height of 12 feet. How long is the ladder? So again, we'll have 12 squared plus 9 squared equals C squared. That'll be 144 plus 81 equals 225. C equals 15.